Welcome in to another edition of our Arkansas Football Recruiting Report. As always, we are joined by our Hogville football insider, Otis Kirk. We have a lot of people to talk about today, Otis,
Yeah,
especially for that class of 2023. Arkansas coming
yeah,
off a win. They get back into business, and that helps recruiting always. The first guy I want to
yeah,
start off talking about, Caleb James, defensive lineman out of Texas. What do you know
yeah.
about him?
He's out of Fort Worth, Nolan Catholic. He's a kid that came to camp up here, got offered a scholarship, came back, visited the University of Arkansas. Then he was at the A&M game down in Arlington. Had a great time there. He wore his Razorback shirt over to the game there in Arlington and really enjoyed himself. He's a kid that's very high on Arkansas, and he's about 6'5", about 250, 260. Good sized kid. He's a teammate of Curly Thomas, a defensive end on the
Oh,
same
yeah.
team. Yeah, we talked about Curly committed. He committed to another school, but don't be surprised if they don't end up going back and looking at Curly at another time too. I mean, it would surprise me if he ends up flipping to Arkansas if they go back strong on him. But Caleb right now is Arkansas, and OU is really
Right.
strong with him. The Razorbacks are stronger. Texas Tech is a school that might be, if you want to say stay in the state and find a sleeper school, I'd say it'd be Texas Tech for right now. They're 6-2 on this season. Fort Worth Nolan Catholic. He has 60 tackles, 14 of them been for loss. 38 of them were solos, 7 sacks. He's forced a couple of fumbles and recovered a couple. But this is a kid that can step in and play very early in the SEC, Nick. He can do it. He's that type of defensive lineman. Whether he played his first year or if you're looking at him for maybe the second year, but I'd be surprised if by year 2, if he's not really making a strong contribution to Arkansas or to wherever he goes.
Yeah, 4-star defensive lineman, 6'5", only going to get bigger in terms of adding on
Oh
weight
yeah,
when you get into college. That's huge. If Arkansas could land him, obviously competing against a school like Oklahoma is going to be tough. Texas Tech, as you mentioned, in the mix. Now, here's a guy that I was looking up, and a safety, Nathan Mitchell, also from Texas. Now, I looked up on his rankings. I couldn't find a composite ranking for him on like 247 Sports, but he has an
yeah.
Arkansas offer. So what else can you tell us and fill in those blanks with Nathan Mitchell?
Yeah, it's kind of a mystery with him why he doesn't have more offers and more stuff because he plays at Temple. They're 6-2 as well, by the way. They lost their first 2 games, came back and won 6 in a row. But he started as a sophomore down there. And and people don't understand Temple. You've got a huge team. I mean, numbers wise, and their sophomores don't start there. And people are sleeping on this kid, but Arkansas is not. They offered him a scholarship. He was at the Auburn game. Now he came to camp this summer. He was up here. He's been here during all these kids have been here during the summer that we're going to talk about. But he also came for the Auburn game. Really, Arkansas likes him. And here's the thing. I don't know why he doesn't have a lot of lists. The one thing, maybe some people are looking at his size at like 5'11", 175 and figuring safety. But you got to understand, this is a kid that's a junior in high school and going to get in a weight program, as you said earlier. And now he doesn't have a 6'5" height frame like Caleb does have to. But a safety doesn't have to add that much. But he's taller. I'll put it this way: he's taller than Jalen Catalon, and we know
Right,
how
there
good.
you go.
Yeah,
That's all you need to know.
his eyes hadn't hurt him any, and so no, I think some people are sleeping on Mitchell, but I don't think they will for long. But if they, but I think there again, I think Arkansas may be in the driver's seat regardless of who offers him, and I think they're in the driver's seat, and I think they're in pretty good shape on him as well.
Yeah, and if you're the one school to, they always say people remember their first offers. That's the school that always took interest in them first and has always been there through that journey. So that obviously would give Arkansas a step up on other schools who come in later in the mix because the Razorbacks have been there since day one.
Probably what will happen there is once he gets another offer or two and people start offering him, then he'll probably get bombarded again with a bunch.
Yeah.
But you're right. Arkansas not only offered him early, not only offered him first, they offered him much earlier than anyone else is going to. And that's where loyalty can come into it. And he's seen it 2 or 3 times. He's been up here to games, camps, practices, unofficial visits. So he knows a lot about Arkansas for a kid that's not from here.
And name to keep in mind, because safety depth is something that Arkansas is going to need in the future. And then more
with the spread offenses, you can never get too many DBs, and say Barry plays those kids at 3 or 4 positions back there in that secondary. Those kids play nickelback and a lot of positions back there. So yeah, you can't get too many defensive backs in this day and age.
Now here's a position that I was looking at the class of 2023. Arkansas needs depth at because they don't have any commits for this position, and that's quarterback. And the guy we're going to be looking at today is Vic Sutton, a QB out of Mississippi. So that we saw some depth. We got to see some depth at the UAPB game with Malik Hornsby. I know some people were maybe a little worried after that. So maybe they need some quarterbacks in the future, class of 2023.
Yeah, and they don't have one committed in 2022 either. So they're really putting a lot of emphasis on the kids they've got now. They've got the ones they've got are young quarterbacks, not just KJ and Malik, but Lucas Coley, Caleb Winfro, and then John Stephen are all pretty young quarterback. But Vic Sutton, 6'3", 200, plays at Madison Central. They're 7-1. They really beat Tupelo like 38-3 recently. And then after the game, he and his family drove to Fayetteville, drove a lot of the night, then got a hotel, slept a little while, and then came on up for the Auburn game. And Vic was here this summer as well. Arkansas offered him first SEC offer. He's got Maryland, he's got Virginia Tech, Memphis, but he's got other. But I'll tell you an impressive offer. I'll tell you an offer for him that's impressive is Yale. Because that tells you one thing: the kid's got some good academics. Yeah. You want that at quarterback, and and when I talked to him, he met KJ Jefferson when he visited up here. He said that he's a really cool dude. He said he's from Mississippi and he likes KJ, and he's a similar quarterback in the fact that he runs and throws. And he said their offense down there is a lot like Arkansas's offense. They asked the quarterback to do a similar thing. Here's something that's impressive about him. He's 56 of 102 passing, which is that's good. It's not great, but it's good. 880 yards, 11 touchdowns, but 0 interceptions.
That's what you like. There's the smart decision making right there. Yeah,
8 games.
We're going
8
back.
Games, no interceptions, and that's why I say you can take a kid that's smart like that and do a lot of things at quarterback with him. He's also rushed 48 times for 223 yards and 4 more touchdowns. So he's just a great quarterback. And he's got offers, and Arkansas is certainly in the mix. So
a dual threat Mississippi quarterback going to Arkansas. Paid off once, right? So I wonder if it might again.
I don't. Yeah, if anyone's griping about the one they've got now, there's something wrong with them, because that kid is unbelievable, KJ. And as you say, you get a kid that's smart and can do similar things, And now he's not as big as KJ, but he is 6'3". He doesn't have to. He's not 6'3", or he's 6'3". He's only 200, and he's big enough for a quarterback. But he'll get bigger too, and he can really. His decision making is off the charts. As indicated by the no interceptions.
3 names we're keeping an eye on for that class of 2023: Caleb James, Nathan Mitchell, Vic Sutton. But that's a little too far into the future. What do they need immediately, class of 2022? I know they've had a lot of offers, a lot of commits, but there's still some gaps. What can you tell us about the needs of Arkansas that they need to fill into this upcoming recruiting class?
Okay, they're looking at, they want some wide receivers, maybe 2, certainly 1, but maybe 2. They feel like they need a wide receiver. They've got, you got the kid from Clarendon committed, but then you signed Warren Thompson. So you gave him a scholarship, which as a walk-on, he wasn't here a year, so he counts against this stuff. So you've got 19 scholarships committed, is what you've got. But they're wanting to rush in, and that's why I went back earlier. They're probably talking about an older one, but that's why I also went back earlier and talked about Curly Thomas. That's somebody to keep in mind. If they like him better than maybe some of the options on the transfer market in the portal, I still think Curly Thomas could get back into the picture here, and he's from his family's in Pine Bluff, so he really likes the Razorbacks. They got some interesting kids at wide receiver that they're looking at, and that's going to be an important position because you almost figure Burks is going pro, and then you've got some seniors, they're super seniors that won't be back. Also, if they tuck a tight end with Dax Courtney hurt and Aaron Outley's coming off an injury, if they take another tight end, it would be an older one, maybe somebody that have
in the portal.
Yeah, one had 1 year to play. I mean, they're not wanting another because they've got 2 4-star kids committed in the 2023 class at tight end. So if you take a tight end, they want it to be someone that could come in basically and take Curran's place next year. That's what they want. And then by the time for Tyrus Washington, Dax Courtney, Aaron Outley, and then get those 2 freshmen in here, it'd be somebody to buy some time if they did take a tight end. But and a cornerback, somebody at corner who has got outstanding speed, a cover corner. That's something else that they're considering. So they're looking at some different options there, Nick. But it's going to be particular things like tight end, older guy, cornerback, somebody really fast, maybe take Mo, place there. Rush in. You got Trey Williams as a senior, so they got some specific things that they're looking for. They said he wouldn't turn down an offensive tackle if he's a difference maker, somebody big at offensive tackle, because you've got you had all your starters back from last year on the offensive line, but you're going to lose a lot of them this year. Yeah. So right there, offensive tackle, but basically these are all the things I'm naming pretty much are things that everybody's looking for. You can go to the NFL and they're looking for rush ends. They're looking for speed cover corners. They're looking for, wide receivers who got speed, get separated. See, I mean, Arkansas is looking for the same thing that everybody and their uncle's looking at, I mean, it's not a secret. So, I mean, but it's for specific needs, and you can be specific and do that when you've got 19 commitments. I mean, a lot of the hay's in the barn if they don't get any decommitments. And right now, I've talked to some of the kids that's committed, and they still have their group chats and stuff, and they don't feel like anybody's out there that might pull out the commitment.
One thing Sam Pittman does well is commit a culture of these kids. They're all bought into that one type of culture he's building at Arkansas.
Yeah. And you don't see a lot of decommitments with Sam. You don't see that much. I mean, and I think that goes back to the culture, the character he recruits. Obviously, you got talent. We can talk about academics and character all we want to, but they've got to have the talent. But but he's not going to take the kid that's got the talent, but likes the character and and to fit into the culture here, because you're asking for problems. You recruit your own problems when you do that, and he's not going to do that. So because you can find kids like Vic Sutton that have and Mitchell, the James kid, that have the talent, the character, the size, the academics. They've got it all. And that's what there's plenty of those kids out there. You just got to beat other schools to get them, because when there's somebody like that, everybody wants them. But that's fine. You don't want a kid that nobody else wants. Now, you might find a sleeper here and there, but for the most part, you want kids at other schools. And Sam and Barry and Kendall and Dow and all those kids, all those coaches, they feel like they can recruit against these other people. They've done it. I mean, Dow comes in here in no time to land 2 4-star 2023 tight ends. You don't think he beat some schools to get those 2 kids? I mean, they're both and the same thing. But Cody Kennedy goes and gets Joey Sue out of Bentonville. Kid.
Yeah.
Joke, he's making 3-star because there's no way. I had a high school coach that played against him, told me he's the best high school lineman I've seen in Arkansas. Best I've ever coached against in Arkansas. This was a guy that played against Bentonville this year that told me that. Said he is the best high school lineman in Arkansas I've ever coached against. Yeah, that's when I
came in from out of state, made an impact quick. Look at that.
Well, we bumped up to a 4-star.
A lot of moving parts for Arkansas. We'll see how they play out. And always, we're going to be here weekly with Otis Kirk to break down all the recruiting news. Our Arkansas football recruiting report for Otis Kirk. I'm Nick Petroccioni. More Pig Trail Show after the break.
Thanks, man.